Nah, I'm saying, no, I'm saying, what better way to not celebrate Thanksgiving than to, um, do a video on Thanksgiving that's not about Thanksgiving. Time matters kill, see the spirit comes get in your shape before for the age of course yet again. And I drink the water Zeus and things of that nature. Hopefully everybody gets some good food and things of that nature, see your families and stuff like that. Those are things we should be doing naturally without having to, you know, meet up for these occasions. But that lets you know how much that they got the goddamn world sold up. They got the goddamn world sold up. Okay. So, you know, there's certain things that be our responsibility too, be our responsibility as spirits too, and as detrimental to your waking up. Well, not waking up, but detrimental to you having a certain awareness, in the world for you to be a sufficient spirit to be in a seat or in a position, you know what I'm saying, for you to help somebody. And if you're not in none of those positions and things of that nature, you know what I'm saying, you losing out. So, we actually talk about the dark secret behind organ harvesting and stuff like that. Now, you may hear this and your mind may go directly to, you know, things like um, what you've been seeing on television, you know, what you've been hearing about it, what organ harvesting is, what you've been hearing about, what you've been seeing on movies like The Island or something like that. This is all things um, that put your mind in a frame, you know what I'm saying, for how to think about these things and what's actually going on. But, you know, the dark secret behind this terminology in general is something that you and I do every day. And we all harvest our organs and we all preserve our organs. And, you know, based upon our awareness, this is where we're developing gas, you know what I'm saying, gas, and we're developing fumes that later develop to blood and tissue, and that create the organ. You know what I'm saying? Once that condense in some type of shape or form. But you know what I'm saying? Organ harvesting is basically what it sounds like. Growing organs and shit like that. And so when you get to what growing organs really is and how to actually, put yourself in a position where, you a spirit that's responsible for being able to do that and stuff, this is when you get to another plateau of thinking and of being. Okay? So it ain't really nothing spooky and things, so we gotta go ahead and take out the spookism and things because y'all may think this the island or something like that. And this ain't about the island. This ain't about the island. It's about something your ass do every day. And the better you can pay attention to this something that you do every day and things, the better you will be in a space to be like, oh, okay, I see what I'm doing and things of that nature. And then you will start seeing the secret behind, what I'm saying, what this is and how this work and things. You know what I'm saying? Y'all see how they sign out and stuff like that, throwing people in the chat and stuff. So you hit a spooky algorithm and stuff like that as soon as you say something about one of their topics and things and stuff. As soon as you ain't talking about it and things that you ain't you ain't jump on the points and shit like that, they take them away. They take them away. They get them up out of here. That's cool. That's cool. We don't even got to do this. But so when you talk about growing organs and shit like that, it's something we do every day. Other than that, you wouldn't even be a human that's reached a certain level of age right now. So, you know what I'm saying? Now, uh, how we do this thing is a natural process that you automatically do, whether you are aware of how you do it or not. But, you know what I'm saying? We do this naturally every day and things of that nature. So that's how you grow into a child or an adult. And based upon the frame that you set your mind up in, you know what I'm saying? you grow your organ in a specific way. So you might have a certain awareness that grow your organ to have this type of blood or this type of trains of thought and things. And you got many organs and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You got your sexual organ. You know what I'm saying? You got your heart organ. You got your brain organ. You got your eyes. All this shit's organs and shit like that. And we all create them. But your awareness creates, you know what I'm saying, what comes of these things and shit like that. So you can have a awareness of getting drunk or something like that. You know what I'm saying? And that will be your train of thought that you go under to put yourself in a position where you start to fail your organ and shit like that based upon you drinking and you having drinking problems or something like that. So your kidney organs start to fail or something like that. And then you will have another person that have a certain awareness. You have another person that have a certain awareness that want to do other things and shit like that. But and that make their organ healthy. But naturally, this is kind of what all of us doing. Other than that, there's no such thing as an infant becoming an adult. AKA, we all growing organs. And shit. Now, when we get to talk about how you grow your organs and shit like that, because your organ condition become your flesh, and once it become your once your awareness, once you create an awareness, that's a space. You have a thought and feeling that creates adrenaline, blood flow, and shit like that. Well, that thought is a gas, but it condense and become, certain fumes that start to kick into your blood and shit like that. That creates adrenaline rush, which later creates tissue, and then that creates organ and shit like that. So this is how people develop addiction and shit like that too. You know what I'm saying? Just being their mind is in a certain space where their awareness don't allow them to think any way outside of that how they want to think about that shit. Right? So when we get to training y'all organs and harvesting y'all organs and shit like that, actually growing y'all organs and things, it's always when we get to talk about what's being done in the actual media and things of that nature, like what they telling y'all this is and shit like that. These is things that they utilize, you know what I'm saying? It's just almost like witchcraft. It's almost like they utilize witchcraft and things, but it's not as spooky as y'all is, but they'll give y'all a overhyped version of what they showing y'all witchcraft is, yet you do witchcraft every day. You know what I'm saying? So you you believe in a thought or something, every day that motivates you to act your blood out, well, act your thought out, and that is you motivating yourself from your mind or some type of symbol that you had or something like that. You know what I'm saying? So when you look at it like that, these is things that they do every day, but they'll make y'all demonize it. But what y'all doing is it's like reverse psychology. Y'all end up demonizing y'all self and things of that nature. So, you know what I'm saying? When we talk about organ harvesting, this is something they doing on a secret scale. You know what I'm saying? And it's something that they're doing behind. It's something that's a practice too, that actually done in physical and shit like that people are into and shit like that, which is weird. But for the most part, that's what it is. So, if what's on your mind, if what's on your awareness, you know what I'm saying? If that creates, gas and shit like that, you know what I'm saying? Which is basically a substance that cause a reaction within you, right? If you see, if you know, and you going to meet with families and shit like that, and today Thanksgiving and shit like that, you can spark that gas up in your mind, and that gas, you start to react to it without even being there about the people, places, the things, or the situations, and how you may feel in that space, right? So that interaction is already starting to, whatever you create with your mind is already starting to flow and things of that nature through your mental, and that's going to create some type of adrenaline and things and give you information that you need to know. Now, this over time, you know what I'm saying? It's like, say you had to do that shit every day, right? Say you had to do that one thing that you had to go meet up with family every day in that same way. your blood eventually is just going to start getting used to that, and it's going to start creating an you know what I'm saying, an internal, let's just call it algorithm, an internal algorithm where you're kind of used to that interaction and that level of awareness until you get done with that experience and that expire and you go to something else. So when we talk about actually the secret to behind what they're calling organ harvesting is something that they do every day based upon them giving y'all what they throwing in y'all face, as far as media, as far as music, as far as whatever their level of intelligence is and their technology and things of that nature and all of that. This is all here to make your blood run in a certain way where you're growing your organ a certain way. And so when you do hear something outside of the norm and things of that nature, you're not really open and recipient to it because you're already stuck in an algorithm. So what is harvesting? Harvesting is growing, right? And once you grow something, you have a result and things of that nature. Now, what's growing? Your organ. You get what I'm saying? And so when you look at it like that and things of that nature, now you start to understand movies like The Island and shit, where basically the clone version of the shit is the clone version of the insurance policy guys is your social media page and shit like that. So you know what I'm saying? Your social media page and what you do on the internet, it is, and how you interact with the internet. Let's call that a version of organ harvesting, because before you was on the internet, you didn't have these types of images, you didn't have these types of thoughts and feelings and things of that nature. Now that you are, you can start developing certain adrenaline to certain thoughts and feelings that you can bring back to your actual body and things of that nature and start to act that out in your reality. Okay, now what had just happened? Your organ has started to grow, especially if you've done that to 3 to 6 months, right? So this is a way more in secret done part of organ harvesting too, where you may just be like, oh, that's sick, oh, that's dumb, or oh, they shouldn't be doing that. Yet you condemning the very same thing that you do, but because you're not into science, or you're not into circumstances and situations that don't detail what you averagely into and shit like that, you may miss the mark on some of these things, and you may say, oh, this is dumb, yet you participating in things, and that's how they get you in a reverse psychology trick and things where you start fighting against your own self type shit. So organ harvesting, once you get on social media, whatever thoughts and feelings you can admit, it ain't as natural as it was before. You know what I'm saying? It's a lot of this shit has been infiltrated, where a lot of the things that you see and shit like that is gave to you based upon what has been presented for it to be acceptable to be online and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? As far as like, what is seen, right? What is seen, what gets the most attention, not you just getting on there and getting authentically. No, it's a certain way that you have to get on there to be authentically seen, right? And if you're not doing those types of routines and patterns, aka showing the right thing, they're looking at you like you're not growing your organ in the right way. So you're not acceptable for the you're not accepting the what as they say, the humiliation ritual, but you're not accepting the necessary things that's needed for them to be shake their head and rub their hands like, yeah, we got one, and then boost your algorithm up and attention up. So beyond just it being organ harvesting and things like that, and replacing your organs and shit like that, this is how they're building a new society. You get what I'm saying? This is how they build a new society. How you think you forgot How you think you don't give a fuck about Native Americans and shit like that? Okay, your organ when you was born, what they made you pay attention to ain't have shit to do with what was real, um what was done and shit like that. They gave you a new way to feel and think about that shit, and that develop into your blood flow. And once you got enough people doing that, okay, that's a solid foundation that you got that's gonna be hard to break. And people calling you crazy if you looking at it different. You get what I'm saying? And now you have this mind state. You start to understand all the movies and everything like that. You get what I'm saying? So that's what it is. Uh, yeah, this is these weirdos up in here. These weirdos up in here. But y'all see, uh, it's just people, all these weird comments and stuff like that. You see, it's just people that these is these people that don't support these the cyber security. That's cyber security. So anything that don't go against, you know what I'm saying, they seeing me build my organ, my organ, the way I build my organ, it ain't like everybody else. So you know what I'm saying. These is the people that's mad that, oh, you building your organ like this, oh, you know what I'm saying, and it's just that's all they saying. But it's just covered up and trolling and shit like that. So they gotta get on here and troll and stuff like that, and make it look like what I'm saying ain't credible and stuff. It's cybersecurity and stuff like that. It's just cybersecurity. But this is so organ harvesting is something that they do all the time. So yeah, the way that they showing y'all and things of that nature, the actual physical way that they're into that makes money too. But they also make money off of all of y'all organs being grown in a way where y'all are clinging to social media, where y'all are clinging to um, their programs and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Their holidays and their holy days and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? So this is something y'all look and see on TV like, oh, that's horrible, but still be participating in it. You get what I'm saying? So when you look at it like that and things, your mind, you know what I'm saying, makes your awareness is a gas. You know what I'm saying? And your awareness is gas. Where you direct that awareness, it creates thought and feeling, which is like um it creates that thought, and that thought is going to be the gas, and how you feel about it is going to be like the fumes, and that creates blood flow and things of that nature, which creates tissue and shit like that, and then that's going to condense and become the organs and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? And we can see it all the time. You train your organ. If you're more in the athletic space, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna have your mind more on that athletic type of nature. You get what I'm saying? So you're gonna create your organ to probably, you know what I'm saying, pump a little faster than the average individual that might not be into that. You know what I'm saying? If you're talking, then your throat organ or, these organs might be better than the next one. But these is all this is just something we all do every day. But like I said, it's always they gotta throw a spookism on it for y'all to be um for y'all to be like, oh, for y'all to kind of do that reverse psychology trick on y'all selves and things of that nature. You know what I'm saying? So once you get that and things of that nature, you'll be understanding everything um that goes on. That goes on. Hold on, let me go do something and stuff like that. So understand that. So they always trying to get y'all in some spookism and shit like that. It's spookism and things. You know what I'm saying? Not a bad thing about this. The negative thing about this is that y'all do have certain um qualities and stuff like that, where a lot of the way y'all grown y'all organs, y'all harvested y'all organs and shit like that. You know what I'm saying, to the new body and things. Think about it. Before, like I said, before you got on the internet, you were accustomed to a different. So the depiction of them transporting a new organ into your body and things, that's just them putting more shit in front of your face and things of that nature, so that you start to run that program through your system. And where attention goes, energy flows and things. So what you pay attention to will essentially become um, your mind. You know what I'm saying? Your awareness and things of that nature. That's why if a person just only know their environment, they only gonna create thoughts and feelings in their environment. They get out in their environment, they be like, damn, okay, my environment don't only exist. Now take that into everything and things of that nature. So even when they get out the hood, what they're gonna act towards them certain people, places, and things, and them ideas that they had on their mind, where they still act in hood because they didn't build their character over time. They didn't build their organs sufficiently over time to act this way, right? And they didn't harvest their organ time based upon probably a lot of their programs and shit like that. But they didn't they didn't harvested their organs so much that even when they get out the hood, they still make situations that land them up in jail. So that lets you know that beyond um, being exposed to certain things, you're still creating something internally that always bring you back to situations like, damn, how I'm doing that. And we letting you know right now that that is your motherfucking way um, you harvest your organs and things of that nature. So, you know what I'm saying? So yeah, so awareness is the first substance that create the organ and shit like that. So even when I was doing this smoking video and things of that nature, a lot of that shit, you know what I'm saying? A lot of that shit is for you to start to understand the dual sides of how the mind actually interprets from the masculine and feminine points of perspective. But yeah, so you know that's the secret behind organ harvesting. You know what I'm saying? The secret behind organ harvesting is that yeah, they showing you that, but they're showing you the practice of it, right? Because they got to do the physical of it. But this is something you do every day, and this is something they do every day, and things of that nature. So what you have on your mind is what your organ gonna grow into, and things of that nature. For instance, you watch a lot of porn and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? You may get sensitized so much to where your dick don't work the same. You know what I'm saying? When you wasn't watching the porn or your coochie don't, you know what I'm saying? It ain't that sensitive and things. What happened? You went and you paid attention to something. You grew an organ, that blood and stuff started pumping through your organ to where now it's satisfied with a certain flow and things of that nature. And now that certain flow, if you're not, if you, since you so sensitive to that flow and things of that nature, you're not able to get as aroused as you were on just using your imagination. You know what I'm saying? So your organ has been utilized over time to be fulfilled with that instead of, you know what I'm saying, utilizing your imagination and things. So it don't matter where you go. You know what I'm saying? You can go to Sicily, you can go to Greece, or whatever the fuck. You know what I'm saying? You still gonna have that process of you growing your own organ. And once they do this on a mass scale, put a bunch of thoughts in front of y'all face for y'all to, and they can track that and stuff like that. Okay, they know how y'all organs are reacting and how to assume y'all behavior. And when they assume y'all behavior and things, now they can create certain things out of this. They can create certain fan bases. They can create certain characters because they know y'all ain't about shit. They know how y'all organs move. So this is organ harvesting on a mass level. And so this is really making money on a mass level. So it's just the spookism one that they put y'all in is what they trying to tell y'all that they're doing, but they don't like to tell that's what they doing and things and whatever. They like y'all to be scared of that. And they say y'all don't ask no further questions. And this is what organ harvesting is, if you get what I'm saying. All right, hold on. So yeah, so understand that too. Understand that that harvesting just mean growing a group of something and things of that nature. I actually what they're harvesting is organ. So the more y'all mind is on something, you know what I'm saying, the more. As soon as you get on Instagram, as soon as you get on, you know what I'm saying. So that's why even on movies, a lot of the shit be desolate. Like a lot of the real world be desolate. You know what I'm saying? Be old and ruined and stuff like that because they're trying to show you that they're trying to destroy the actual world. If you get what I'm saying. No, I mean what I'm saying. But yeah, so we gonna stop it at there and things of that nature. If anybody got anything to add, you know what I'm saying, we gonna let y'all add and things. But overall, life is about growing an organ. You a whole organ. So what you gotta do? You gotta grow yourself. You gotta grow yourself. You may have help doing that. You know what I'm saying? You could have help doing that. You could have help doing that. You could be on your own doing that. We all actually have help based upon spirits being in bodies that came before us and shit like that, laying down what they left and shit like that. But also, we could be on our own, you know, and you don't necessarily want to be on your own and things. But yeah, but other than that, it's way more videos on how we got videos on how to grow your organ properly and shit like that too. You know what I'm saying? And the science behind that. So if any of y'all interested in that information, y'all can hit me up too and things. But really, it's just about your attention and things. So that's why I was at. You responsible for growing you as an organ. So you responsible for what your mind on. You know what I'm saying? So if your mind on other things, you know what I'm saying, like things like college and shit like that, obviously you may attract a lot of individuals that where you actually end up in college, where you didn't grow your organ so much that you actually end up in college, maybe shaking hands with some of these people or growing with some of these people. You know what I'm saying? Or having experiences with some of these people. So what you do from the inside, it attracts what you're gonna go through externally. And yeah, that's about it. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, I'm gonna let y'all go and shit like that, man. Enjoy y'all turkey and shit like that. Yeah. And remember, man, grow your organs efficiently.